From the Great Central Fire today, I'm still up north at Camp Kooch in Ogeechee and at the Foundation House, been all over the place, but able to catch up with another old friend of mine. Pete Pfeffer joined us on the podcast, and we were able to talk about some great things. His start at camp as actually a point kid, starting out in the prep camp. We talked about some stories there. Our trip together in 1985, which really kicked off our friendship, and we've been great friends ever since. And we got into a deep conversation about the Native American program and the tripping program at Camp Kooch. And, of course, at the end, we had a few special questions that Pete was able to answer pretty quickly, which you'll enjoy. Who knows who else I'll bump into while I'm up here, so stay tuned. You never know who we'll catch on the next podcast. But for this one, sit back, relax, and enjoy this wonderful conversation with Pete Pfeffer. From the Great Central Fire today, I'm still up north here and looking at Rainy Lake, and I've got a great guest that's popped in, an old friend of mine. We've had a couple of days up here that's been outstanding and great to reconnect again. But Pete Pfeffer's with us today, and Pete, thanks for joining us on the Great Central from the Great Central Fire, and it's good to have you back up north, man.
It is my pleasure. I won't sit too close.
But hey, listen, we've talked about a lot of things since we've been here, but I want to start back. I mean, what a lot of people may not know. I know your brother Mike was here as a camper, and you came back as staff. But actually, you're here earlier than that.
Yeah, I think I have like 9 lives as a Kooch person. If you go back in time, in the '60s, my parents were here. Contemporaries of Tim and Joan Heinle, the Vandenbarks, Chalfant. The Crow, they called him. But yeah, so they were here in the 60s. Here's, how it really happened is Jane Eichler was from Bertha, Minnesota. And Jane and my mom were pals. And Bruce Will, son of Dr. Will, was pals with my dad. And after those guys all finished high school, Bruce got my mom and dad to come to camp. So it was a reunion of They lived in Bertha long before they lived in International Falls. That would be the Wills. So I was up here as a little boy. I was a point kid.
Okay.
And number of years, and then before it was camp time, then we went back to Alexandria, and I do remember Tad Schroeder coming, and Tad's trying to convince me to come up as an intermediate, and I was like, "Hey, you got to come," and I'm like, "Well, what's so great about this place?" I was a scout, and I was brought up one match fire. Chop your own wood. It'll warm you twice. My dad made certain of that whole lore. We knew all about, if you're really tough and good at this stuff, you can go out in the woods and be part of the secret society. If you if you fall down and cry, the swamp camels are gonna come get your pack and eat the brown sugar out of it. So you got to get up and move. But Tad says you ought to come up because you can canoe. In these great borderland Minnesota and Canadian lakes. And I look out the window and I point at the lake in our backyard. He goes, "But you can do it in a canoe, not a speedboat." And I point to the canoe sitting by the trees in the backyard. And, I was 14, 15 years old. It was summer at the beach with the girls from town and the rest of this. I'm like, I'm not going to Kooching.
Right.
And my brother goes up, and my brother, I thought I got sent away to, prison or something like that. I got sent away to camp because I was bad. So I missed out on that part of it. Went through the whole scouting program. So I came up as a staff guy in the early '80s. Tim Heinle hired me, sight unseen, because he knew Mike from camp. He knew my dad from the old days. But so 1983 was my first summer.
Okay.
And so we had a number of seasons, 83 to 88, I want to say. So that 5 years. But then my second, so that would be my second life. My third life was coming up here for Boys in Winter, and part of that whole thing in the early '90s with Troy Balser and Dupree and you and Upson and the rest of that whole thing. Then I got to come back another time because Jimmy, my oldest, was a camper.
Yeah,
and he was here. Took some trips out. Got to do the Turtle again. My daughter Maggie was a chickadee over at Ogeechee, and then the probably not the last chapter, but one of my favorite chapters was coming up here with Chris Sledzik and starting the father-son tradition.
Right,
We took
right.
out the inaugural father-son trip, was a Quetico thing, and then we engineered a trip that was a leg of the turtle, and that was outstanding. So we had lots of dads who wanted to see how hard this was for their son, and lots of dads who wanted their boy to see what camp was like. And it was, while hard and while enjoyable, it was country club, because we had high-end food and wanigans that weighed about 3,000 pounds. And,
For 5 days or 4 days.
yeah, 4 days, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, as everybody knows, one of the best parts about a trip is the challenge and the scenery and the things you got to fight your way through. But the thing that makes or breaks it is what you get to eat and how much of it you get to eat.
Right.
And Sledzik and I, we engineered this food, and it was stellar.
Yeah.
Pizzas and bread and calzones and cinnamon rolls. It was Carb Fest '87. You know, there was it was a lot of stuff. From monkey barrel full of frozen meat and the rest of this. But we were not super efficient by Kooching tripping terms.
No, but hey.
But it made sure these guys were, and then we could spin it up out of nowhere. You know, get a fly up in the rainstorm and still make their calzone, and they could eat right like on time.
Right,
Good
right.
stuff. Really
yeah.
good stuff.
No, that's good.
So.
Your first summer, 83, you were in what camp? You were in the prep camp or?
I was in cabin 8A in the prep camp. Phil Perling was the unit head. Took my first Kooching trip out. I took my first canoe trip in the Boundary Waters with my dad when I was about 5, 6 years old. So it was my version of being a prep. But my first trip, I went out with Phil Perling. Matt DeWine was the was the aide on that trip, or CIT they call him now. It gets kind of gray as who some of the kids were on that trip, but I was in cabin 8A with Jimmy Mayer. We had that place, Taj Mahal. We had that place locked down. Well, and then you were our second 4-week CIT in that cabin.
That was a little bit. It was a year later, I think, because Matt was a year older than me.
Oh, okay, so that was the next round.
Yeah, I was in 85, is when I was a CIT.
Hey, when you get to be my age, it all blends together. It's one long.
Right.
It's one long loincloth wearing summer trip, right?
But oh God, Jimmy Mayer, and I'm sure you remember some of the great kids you had in your cabin. And we've talked a lot about this over the years. I mean, there's been so many great kids, and they're older adults now. They're probably 50 years old by now.
Yeah,
you know?
so I think back in time, and there's some classics. There was JR was one of my guys.
Right.
He was in my bow. Trey Cuppen. If I think back. Damon Woodenberg, and we reconnected for the first time in, probably 40 years over on the island yesterday. And I remember I remember how tired I was on the Quetico picking up this tin wanigan, tin wanigans are heavy.
Right.
And tin wanigans, when you lift that thing 87 times to up and out, out of the canoe, onto the shore, up into a kid's back, I remember putting that thing up, and I was lifting that up. My forearms are burning, and I'm thinking, I can't do this much longer. As I throw Damon the tump, and he goes over the tree, I'm like, oh, but at least I'm not carrying it. As I throw him my Duluth, my canoe. But Damon, he was a monster.
Yeah. Now, were your whole time as staff, you were in the prep camp?
I did prep and junior camp.
Okay.
A couple seasons in the junior camp as well.
Okay. That was your last part of your staffing years?
Yeah, that was Eric Ofterhide and I had cabin 6 up on the hill.
Okay, yeah.
That was good stuff too. That was English River. I want to say Chuck Eichler on that. We went to the Bighorns in search of Bomber Mountain. And that one, I remember that quite well. That was Scott Limehead, and Matt Brokaw, and Will Slade was on that.
God.
Good thing that Walsh is great with the editing, because that's when we had the pressed ham. We're riding that.
Go ahead. No, let's tell this story.
We're
riding
that Kooching van out to the Bighorns, and first of all, Eichler and I get dialed in, right? So we've got squirt guns, not just any squirt gun. This would be an AR of the squirt gun world. This thing is like a giant clip on the bottom, and you got probably 57 squirts out of that thing. So we had squirt guns, because when you got a bunch of 14-year-olds in the back of a van, you got to have something to hose them down, quiet them down, get things under control. So we also had these little sticky handles that were supposed to stick to a can. So it'd be like a handle.
Yeah.
We stuck those to the windshield, but you couldn't reach them. So it took both of you to agree, kind of like the nuclear option. Turn your key. Do you concur? Let's fire. So we had those handle grips on the window, and when we lost it, look, now cool down, Pfeffer. Okay. Look, now it's okay. Settle down, Chuck. It'll be okay. But if we both had enough, we'd reach forward. Yes. Do you concur? Yes. We'd pull those things off the windshield and then pull the truck over and proceed to either the shotgun would hose them down, or we'd both just hose the kids down. And they thought that was great fun, but then they wouldn't shut up for about 20 minutes. The other thing about,
but I want to get into the ham.
so we're and this is about the time when vacation was big, right? So you got Chevy Chase driving in the vacation family truckster. Well, that's me and Chuck in this big Kooch van, a wilderness experience.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're cruising down the highway, and in the same way that Christy Brinkley comes by in the red Ferrari, this Corvette comes by, and there's this guy, and just some smoke and beauty riding shotgun with him, and the guy's like, Pfeffer, can we do a pressed ham? I said, absolutely. So I go, gentlemen, assemble. And like 8 guys lined up on the window. Gentlemen, present hams. And they drop their pants and press. So they all stuck their butt cheeks to the window. So Camp Kooch, a wilderness quest.
Oh, my God.
And 14 hams.
That's so funny. Did you get a response from the car?
Yeah, they hit the horn and we got thumbs up and the rest of this kind of stuff. Yeah, we continued on down the line.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. So the other thing that was great about that one, we're driving, and it's a long drive for two, 22, 23-year-olds in a van full of boys, and we're doing our best. And those were tight times for camp, so we would have to find a place to stop and camp. So we pull into a railroad yard and camp in the stockyard.
Oh yeah, we did
next
this.
to the rodeo. So we're cruising down the road now a little bit farther. We're in the middle of Wyoming, someplace. And I go, Chuck, what do you think? He goes, oh, we're there. You think we're there? We're there. We're like, hold on, boys. And he'd just lock them up. We come to a stop. Middle of the road, middle of Wyoming, nothing for miles. Not a tree, not a twig, not a branch, nothing but grass, not a car on the road. All right, everybody out now. And the guys jump out, because these guys were used to commands back in these days. So out they go. And Chuck and I jump out. Doors open on the van, slider open on the van. We're kind of walking around the van looking like, is this it? This is it. I think it's it, Chuck. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is it. This is it. We're here. Where are we? We're here. Where's here? Right here. Yeah, here we are. Everybody back in the van. We take well, I mean, what do you do with a bunch of 14-year-olds on a 15, 20-hour van ride?
You got to make it
Just
fun.
got them out, made them run around the van like 15 times, and then back in, and away you go.
But I've talked to people too about trips and, weather and bad times and things like that. I said, the fun of a trip a lot of times depends on who you go with. And it can be raining every day.
Yeah, without
and if you've got people like what you and Chuck were doing and having fun like that, I mean, those kids will remember that forever. And I'm sure, I don't know who else was on the trip, but you mentioned 2 names, Matt Brokaw and Will Slade. I've been in contact with both of them. Matt actually lives out in California, and we lived right down the street from him when I was out there for about 4 or 5 years. So I connected with him and his wife Jenny and their kids, and it was great. And I was able to have a great talk with Will Slade, who's down in Atlanta. So hopefully they'll listen into this, and they're off. Hey guys, if you hear this, you're offering any part of the story you want to add to, and we will put it on, as we've told everybody before. Feel free to call in or email in to me or Mike, and we want to hear from you, and we'll certainly air whatever you have to tell us. So anyway, but I want to talk about trips, how important they are for us. The trip that we went on together, I want to start the story, and I'll let you pipe in. I was a CIT the second 4 weeks in 1985, and there was 2 prep trips going out. There was Phil Perling had a trip going out, and I forget who was the staff on his trip. And then there was Steve Prozek on the other trip, and yourself and Greg Glover and Jimmy Mayer, and then I was the CIT on the trip. And I remember inside my head going, darn, man, I wish I was on the other trip, because I really don't know Jim that well. I don't know Pete that well. I don't know Greg that well. I don't know Proz that well. I I've seen him around camp, but we were always in different camps and things like that. I was like, man, I don't know if this is going to be any good or not, but anyway, long story short, I mean, we go on that trip and
it's a lifetime friendship.
With all of us. I mean, now
absolutely.
Greg we haven't talked to. I've tried to track him down, but me and you and Praz and Jim stay in contact to this day. For the three of the greatest friends I have in my life from a 6-day canoe trip.
Without question.
And this is what this place is all about. But you remember that trip?
Oh gosh. Well,
I could tell stories.
I mean, I think to lean into this, I think some of my best friends in the world are folks that I suffered with, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So my chiropractic school friends, because of the intensity of that program. Some of my college friends are friends, but it's not to that level. But Kooch friends, and the idea you were wet together, you were fixing broken stuff together, you were helping a kid who was hurt, you were paddling a headwind, all those things. And I love on my video this morning I talked about John Holden. If you want to really know someone, go on a canoe trip with him. And I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
It's not what can you do, it's how do you do it and when do you do it. I think all the trappings of civilization get burnt away, and all of a sudden you start to realize who's on your team and who will eventually on a trip, who will join your team, because nobody stays the outcast very long. Even the limpest tripper, even the guy who's just absolutely next to worthless, still it's like this crucible, and you burn the impurities away, and probably the more miserable it is, the better people rise to what's inside of them, and the better they rise to the occasion. But that makes it sound like that was a horrible trip, because it was not.
It was not.
But we had fun. We had sun. We had rain. We had wind. We had rapids. We had all kinds of stuff. I remember. I hope Greg Glover listens to this, because we had that rule where you always had to have your life vest on and zipped up, and it was a Jim. It was a Jim Bond thing. Remember? Yeah. Don't be Joe Cool Stud. You'll be Joe Cool Dumb. And so the whole thing about being zipped up. So we're approaching this little riffle. It's a fast water, but it's still a rapid, right?
Right, that's right.
And you don't know what's on the bottom. You don't know what's around the corner. So we come floating up, and Greg, bless him, but he's standing up in his boat, and he's got his combat pants on and his green USMC shirt, and he's got his green, deployment kind of cap on. He's all he's decked.
Yeah.
Ready. Got his combat boots on, and his pants bloused out and tucked in, and he's standing up. And he goes, I think we could shoot it from here. And I'm second boat up. I go, sit down and vest up, Glover. Who do you think you are, Aquaman?
I remember that. And, that was so funny. He did, too. I mean, he sat down and laced up. But
well, my voice carries.
And, actually, I think Greg had a great military career.
That's what you told me.
I think so. I wish I could get in contact, and hopefully he hears this.
I'd love to reconnect with him.
Yeah.
As well. But
do you remember some of the kids on that trip? I think Chad Hoots we had there, and Matt Good.
Oh, I forgot Matt Good was on that thing. Because he was so tiny. He was about the size of a Duluth pack, so he put the Duluth pack on.
And we saw nothing but his shoes.
Yeah, that's right. And I did a birthday video for him, and I recalled a number of things that I knew about him growing up. But one of the things I did, I pulled out a Duluth pack, and I shook that thing out. And I said, Matt Good, you used to be about this tall. And I know that because on the Turtle River, you had this thing on your back. And all we can see is the back of your boots.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Yeah. Now, one of the things I remember from that trip, too, we had some time. So we were at a campsite, and there was a big, strong eddy. And you said, guys, we're going to make a sun tanning bed.
Yeah, the counselor canoe deck. Or the counselor's sun deck.
So we took 3 canoes and strapped them together by canoe paddles.
What could go wrong?
Right? Flip it over upside down in the river, in the eddy. And we went out there and just sunbathed, laying on the canoe bed.
Big rock on the painter, and just hung there. Yeah.
And what was funny is as we flipped them back over, we snapped one paddle. It happened to be Jimmy Bayer's paddle. And the only spare paddles we had were the little prep ones.
It was about 3 feet long.
3 feet long. He had to paddle the rest of the trip. I looked back at him and watched him paddle, and I was losing it.
It was like paddling with a spoon.
Yeah. Oh. Exactly. It's exactly what he was doing. Oh God.
Well, what's interesting about that, and from an editing side or whatnot, where it fits in, but those were the days when you had a Sierra Cup on your belt.
Right.
There's no, I mean, it was a couple seasons after that when we started thinking about beaver and giardia and the rest of that kind of stuff. But on a trip like that, you just drank right out of the lake. There was no treating your water
Right.
bottles or Nalgene's or any of this kind of stuff, like canteen. No, I mean, you were sitting in the biggest canteen in North America.
Right.
You just lean over the side and drink.
Well, you've tripped more recently than I have. I mean, my last trip was in '02, which was still, it was starting to creep in then, but I still remember getting off a Portage Trail, and I was so thirsty. I paddled out into the lake and just took the baler and started chucking water. I was so thirsty. Yeah.
Well, what could go wrong drinking out of a big old bleach bottle?
Right. Oh, gosh.
You know, and what's interesting about that is the last trip I was on was in the not Superior National Forest, but the boundary waters for Owakonzie. But the last trip before that was 2015. And the Owakonzie trip was because Canada was closed off due to COVID and stuff.
Okay.
Like that.
Okay.
So that was an outstanding trip. But what I was bringing to, I was going to say my last trip, but it wasn't my last trip. It was my dad's last trip. But it was 2015, and it was father-son, so I brought Jimmy on one more trip.
Oh, wow.
And Jimmy was on staff at the time, which just made it fantastic. But I brought my dad, and he was, 2015, he would have been maybe 72 at the time. No, 75. He was 75 years old. And that was great to have the guy that taught me to canoe and the boy that I taught to canoe.
Right.
You know, 3 generations on that father-son trip.
Oh.
And we would come in at the top of Bending Lake, and we paddled down to a place called Dreamy Beach. It was a big point, and we would never stay there. And at Kooch II, we would never stay on a sandy beach.
No, it gets into everything.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe at Johnny Hightower or at the prisoner of war camp on the later part of the Turtle. We camped on a sand beach then, but these guys, can we stay at that Dreamy Beach? Yeah, of course.
Right.
So we pulled it up and camped out. It was great. Everything got sandy, of course, but from there, then we would go down, and we would stay. It's called Big Island. And the Big Island is where you aim back into the Turtle River. But we take the cutoff portage in reverse, because then we can go up around Bending Lake again, and there's about 6 or 8 sets of rapids, including the one where Aquaman lives. Yeah, we'd shot all those. There's a S Rapids, and it's great for rookies, of which I still consider myself one. But all these dads and these boys, it was just fast water moving, and although I did John Pole and I did rap in that spot. And how do you rap on a prep trip? Well, number one, I will say in my defense, it was one of those ultralights. And BJ,
but it still went over.
Went over and I wrapped in half. It was like a gum wrapper. And BJ did not bill me for that because no, they tried those ultralights and they lasted about 20 minutes.
Yeah,
somebody dropped another one on the sailing beach on a beaver expedition. Drop the thing down, like twing, rock comes right through the bottom of it.
Yeah.
So these were not designed. They were not the same mill of aluminum, but yeah. So it's a great trip, that Turtle River.
Yeah, it's a great trip, and we had some great times, and we built some great friendships from it, and we talk about it to this day, which is great.
Well, of course, you got Sanford Island, and I've been on that thing. I've been on the trip a number of times. But Sanford Island is that 6 or 7 mile lake with those 2 big islands at the end of it. And I've paddled that thing in a headwind, I think, with you. And it was just like whitecaps and coming over the bow, and just could you be any more miserable on the 2nd or 3rd day of the trip?
Right.
And then another time I paddled it with Mike, my brother, and David Lumpkemeyer and the rest. And we went across that thing with Smiles. John Pole was in my bow. Smiles greased up with banana boat, lemon juice in our hair and wearing loincloths, and we just sailed Sanford. I mean,
right?
Who knew?
Yeah,
yeah. That was the trip. I don't think it was with you when there's the power line on the top of Batchwa, and you go underneath that power line, and I'm like, okay, fellas, get ready, because you can have stray currents. So do not touch the side of the boat. Because the whole thing, I mean, we could be electrocuted. We could be completely shot into. Yeah, so we go cruising under those power lines and like, can't you feel it? can you feel the pain?
Oh gosh.
I do something, I usually, like I said, I usually paddle in the loincloth. So then I fire myself off the back of the boat. Who touched the side? Who did that?
We're gonna be a strip of bacon.
Yeah.
Careful. Hey, I want to talk. We've got some great stories about this guy that a lot of people do. But Tim Heinle, the former director. I mean, just a good friend, and obviously Steve and Timmy, his two boys up here. But the times that we were on staff together. I mean, the fun times we had with him.
Well, I can think of 3 stories. One of them was postseason, and it was the summer that the director's cabin burned.
Yes.
And we were replacing the roof on the director's cabin. And so you can't tell the story without shooting back to Steve Upson, the classic. Anyway, Upson has this boombox. The other story about Upson, he had these headphones, and he puts them in through the mic jack so he could announce the winners and announce the play-by-play on the tennis ladder. On Ham's Tennis Cup. Anyway, so we have Upson's boombox, and we're listening to CFOB, and we have the thing nailed, a little nail cradle on the roof, and we record ourselves for about 45 minutes.
Oh, I was there.
An hour, right? Yeah, that's how you'd remember this. We record ourselves hammering nails and doing shingles
and talking. We were talking like we were just normal.
Hey, throw me that over here. I need a second bundle of shingles. So we just we capture it. Then we move the stuff to the lakeside where you can't be seen, and we put that boombox on there, and we push play. And Chief comes looking for us, and he's, hey guys.
And he hears us all talking on the boombox.
He thinks we're on the boombox, or he thinks we're on the roof. We're on the boombox, and we all disappeared, like back to cabin 4, taking a nap, getting a red pop, all the rest of this kind of stuff. So there was the first one. That same postseason, he'd come to find us, and at this point, all the cabins were getting shut down, so we would all bunk up in one. So we leave him a note. Hey, Tim, we're over in cabin 4. And then,
little scavenger hunt.
Oh yeah, then there's another one. Hey, Tim, went to the lodge. Hey, Tim, sorry we missed you. We're down at the shop. Hey, Tim, sorry we missed you. We're back at the dining hall. So about the third clue,
right?
Chief Mudge figures out that we're pulling his chain.
Yeah.
Right. And so.
Oh.
But I think the story you were trying to get to is he asked us to build a fire, you, me, and Upson, and we were supposed to get stuff ready for this nighttime this nighttime group of boys are coming out, and it's got to be all ready for them. And of course, there's a burn ban on, kind of like this year. So we get the split wood and get stuff ready, and we go about 3 tiers up. And we go, you think this is high enough? I'm like, nah, I don't think this is high enough. So we put another. So now this thing's like 3 feet tall. It's like, you think it's high enough? No, I don't think it's high enough. So it looks like Jenga. This thing is like almost
Jenga.
It's almost 6 feet tall, right? So we go get the guys, and we get our lantern, and we come walking back to this. We come around the corner.
Here comes Tim.
Yeah, here's Tim. Fellas, we're going to maybe knock that down just a little bit. not to be outdone. You say, yeah, it's...
Well, I don't know if you remember the roofing story, but we... that same year that we made that recording of us working, he thought we were still working over there for hours until he finally walked behind and found out it was a tape recorder. Right. But we left him. There was a thing that a lot of the old timers will remember. I know after the 11 o'clock class that ended a little around noon, we'd always cut out about 5 or 10 minutes early so we could run up to Holden's cabin and listen to the message period. So we left a message for Tim on the message period that year.
Oh no!
And then what's funny is you and I have talked, and maybe we can bring this story up too about the dining hall with Tim, the dining hall announcements. But we left a message, and I remember it clearly. And then it said to Tim Heinle on Deer Island, "Hope you're having a great day. We're out water skiing and sailing. Sign the roofing boys." Right. And have a great day. And then the message right after it was to Pee Wee Swamp Rat was the next message. Whoever Pee Wee Swamp Rat was, but
I got a 9-9 Johnson.
But that was so classic. And I mean, Tim loved the color. Those are the guys that work with him, and Steve Upson and yourself and a lot of the crew, and Pete Hanley. I think of, he loved all those colorful people, man, and that just really cracked him up. And he loved to come visit us on projects every time in the preseason or postseason. He'd come walking by, just checking on to see if we need a Coke or something. But he loved the banner we would shoot back at him,
Oh, absolutely.
And he hated heights, so we'd be working on roofs. We're like, "Hey Tim, come on up." He's like, "Nah, you guys are doing just fine. I think you're better off up there than I am." But
Tim knew how to stretch a dollar too and get by. So we learned that from him, how to be
Yeah.
as efficient as possible. So I remember one time, I think you were with me, but it was a town day, and so town often involved going into town, doing your laundry, stopping by. We had a place called the Flame, for a cocktail and visit some of the locals, and then we'd usually work our way back out 11, to Thunderbird or to Island View or whatever the case may be. Well, this time we went out to Thunderbird, and there was a wedding going on. And now this isn't that big of a deal because Wedding Crashers, the movie, everyone thinks.
right.
But we were some of the original Wedding Crashers because in we go, and the trick is simple. You introduce yourself to the first guy. Hey, I'm Pete. What's your name? Oh, Jeff Coleman. Oh, nice to know you, Jeff. So now I know Jeff, and everyone else I introduce myself is like, I'm a friend of Jeff. And pretty soon you know the room. Well, it's not a problem. So I know a guy and get a beer and hit the line and got a plate full of food, forgetting that Joan was from the Falls and Tim and Joan are up for the summer, and even though they're safely ensconced on the island, they also come to town for social things and were invited to this wedding.
So they showed up.
Oh yeah, so here comes Tim and Joan. I'm sitting with a plate full of food, and Tim's like, "You friends of the bride or the groom?" I'm like, friends of Jeff over here. What do you ask? He goes, finish up that plate and get the hell out of here.
Were you the only one in there?
I thought that was maybe you. But
No, I wasn't in there.
I think Upson was on board with that, and there was a couple others that, So we quickly just snarfed up our plate and said, "See ya, take care." Out we go.
Hey, I want to stay. This is a great episode here because of the stories and the names and all this stuff. But I want to stay back on the lake here and resort talk. At the end of camp one year, we went to Sha Sha's.
Yeah.
And there was about 8 or 9 of us, and I remember
the 7-man power wedge.
The 7-man power wedge. I know it was the old Sha Sha's, the one before this one now, the one that burnt down.
But that long dock is still there. We looked
is
at
it there?
Last night. Yeah,
okay. But we were there. I know Steve Shook was there, and I want to talk something about him real quick. And me and you and Uppy and I don't know who else it could have been there. Steve Heinle maybe was there.
For sure. Troy Balser was on staff.
Troy
then.
Balser was there.
Troy, and
yep.
It was Shooker and Upson and you and me. Now there's 5, and maybe a couple others, but
But that night, I want to talk about that night before we get to the funny part. This has always rang with me, and I talked to Steve Shook about this. We go in there. This is after camp, and we're all at the bar, and we're having a couple adult beverages, and there's 8 or 9 of us there, and then Shooker's getting ready to pick the bill up. And, he just cashed his camp check. What wasn't a ton of money, And we said, "Shooker, what are you doing?" He said, "Guys, seriously, do you seriously come up here for the money?" And it just rang with me what this place is about. No, we don't. We just loved being up here. And we looked at it back then as like, you're actually going to pay me to take kids and have fun with kids on an island and take them out on a canoe trip? And that just really stuck with me for a long time about, giving back to this place more than we take.
Stick with me now, because back then I think I did that $1,600 meant a lot, and I did come up for the money. But right now, I won that deal because I'd pay that back in threefold to have that experience again.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. That's that's Shooker being wise beyond his years. That's fantastic.
Yeah. But the funny part of that night is we're in Sha Sha's. Of course, there's no air conditioning in there. It's about 120 degrees. We're sweating. It's a tight little room, and we're playing the Big Duck Hunter game on the.
Well, we were dancing or something else. So of course, we're doing double toe heeling around and breast stepping and the rest of this, and everyone's just getting as crazy as you can get. And then we are sweating like, yeah.
So Upson wants to go out and go swimming. So it's dark out, and out we go, and to the dock. And
I think the first pass was just a run, right? So we go down there, we look around, drop trowel, because back in the day, why would you want your gear wet? You'd You swam with a smile on, and that's about it. So we drop trow and go sprinting down the dock and dump in, and then swim around for a second and back out and run back, put our gear back on, and then back up for a beer and another dance, and away we go. And then we come back down.
But then we formed the power wedge.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say then we come back down there, and someone's got a great idea. It's like, hey.
But meanwhile, there's a yacht at the end of the dock.
Well, we're double heeling down this. Down this 50 yards of dock because it was a long dock that could tie up many boats like parallel parks.
Yeah.
So we're going down that thing as a wedge, strutting.
and out we come, and then we're going to do one more time. And Upson decides, here's these people.
Sailboat. There's a sailboat
and the
there.
people come out.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, the people come out. The guy and his wife come out. And so at eye level, Steve Upson decides with nothing on to bend over and talk to these guys and say, hey, now listen, we're going to be coming by here again, so just be careful. I mean, we don't mean anything. We're just going swimming, and this lady's looking out.
Out the little porthole, and Upson's got his hands on his knees, and he's in a squat position. So you can imagine what kind of exclamation point she got out of that whole deal.
Oh, my gosh. It was just so good and just typical Upson, just talking to anybody and having a great time.
I was gonna say, exclamation point and a semicolon, if you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, God.
But we did, we were fresh and clean after that.
Oh, yeah. It was refreshing. But just some of the good times, that we had up here and with the great people. It was so fun.
I remember one time we had our day off. It was fantastic. And Upson and I, and he dressed like Jimmy Buffett. You may not know this story. So he had a white cap and a blue blazer and khakis. And he and I got the scow squared away. And he was in the junior camp. I was in the prep camp. So the big trips were out. I think you were probably out with an intermediate trip or out with maybe on your senior trip. I don't know exactly when. But we get Joan Heinle and Kathy Hoots and Rita. And we take the Point Ladies sailing. And so they make snacks for us and all the rest. And
I remember the story. Yeah, okay, but go ahead.
And it was a little bit different because you could have red pops and blue pops. So we had a supply of blue pops. And we took like Rendezvous 2, that old scow. And we're all set up, and Upson's got his boombox. We're playing Jimmy Buffett, and he's dressed like son of a sailor. He's got that down. And I was Gilligan, his first mate, and away we go. And so we're sailing. We're out in the Kooch Bay around. We take a lap around the markers. We come, and Joan's sitting on the back, and in she goes. And I was head of the swim beach and of lifeguard training at that point. So sunglasses, tunk in the bottom. I go off the side. Cause I can make sure I got to go get her.
Oh yeah, right.
So I swim over to Joan. You okay? She goes, I'm fine. What are you doing in the water? Oh, well, come to help you. Well, I'm fine. Now there's two of us in the water. I mean, sorry, Joan, but you don't really sound like that, but for effect. Anyway, so up he comes about and sails back up to us, puts it in irons, and then we kaplunk back in, and everyone's like, well, this could be a little bit dangerous. No, hoist sail, away we go, Jolly Roger. Back down the lake.
So who was on this? Joan and Kathy Hoots?
It was Kathy Hoots and Joan and Rita Black and maybe your mom.
Was Ellen Perling in this?
I don't know.
Or is she gone by then?
Yeah, I don't know for sure if it might have been Ellen Perling, but it was a number of the Point Ladies. Just to say, of that era, Point Ladies.
Yeah.
If you're there, ladies, raise your hand, ring in.
Absolutely. I mean, you talk about some stories.
I don't think if you remember
those ladies
stories.
got some. We got some great stories.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they were outstanding. Hey, listen. Well, let's talk. I want to get into something here that you and I. It's a deep topic and a hard topic, but I think we got to keep it up and keep talking about it. It's something that was important to us when we were here, and the change in the Native American program here. Hugh and I had a great conversation on a previous podcast about this, and I had a long talk with your brother Mike about it not long ago. And you and I have talked about this for a long time, but the goods, the bads, do we like it? No, we don't. That was such a big part of our experience here. But at the same time, these kids are still having a great time here, and it's just a situation that we're in right now. And running a summer camp is not an easy thing in 2026 from a liability standpoint.
No,
things like this.
There's a lot of moving parts, and now there's a lot of stakeholders, and there's shareholders, you, me, the parents, the boys, the girls at Ogeechee and that team. Yeah, but those are shareholders.
Yeah.
Stakeholders are other people involved, and they may or may not have a dog in the fight, or they may bring a dog to the fight. And I think we're set up with that, with our programs to now weather that storm. And as a little boy, one of my first memories of this place, this place is full of memories. This place is full of dreams. Oh, wow. I didn't know that was lurking in there. One of my first memories is Grand Council.
Yeah.
It's John Holden at the drum, the torchbearers, that whole thing. And I remember being a little boy sitting up, and we sat in the same spot of the ring. And I think your family sat in the same spot too.
Yeah.
We always sat on the spot directly across from the drum by the side. And I remember that. And that's like when you sift through memories, that's one of my earliest memories. So I got to see that. I got to be part of those grand councils. I got to be part of introducing that to my son. I got to watch Jimmy do Little Men, which his uncle Mike was the warrior Little Men. To watch Jimmy do that, that was so, it's just so important to me. But I had a realization this weekend after a conversation with Hugh. We're scraping and scratching on the Kooch II, on the old boat. And he told a story about when the dance program was introduced and how much resistance there was to it back in the
40s,
30s, 40s.
Yeah.
And they were thinking, what the heck is this? And then 2 years of, what the heck is this? And then pretty soon everyone's tied it up and they're dancing. Well, now things have changed, and that's no longer going to be a part of Kooching as we know it. It's a part of Kooching as we remember it. But the thing is before Indian dancing, there was tripping. And during Indian dancing, there was tripping. Mm-hmm. And now in this stage where hopefully it just goes to sleep for a little while, and maybe it comes back someday. But while now it'll be in the absence of the Indian or the Native program, we still have tripping. And what came to mind is that's the skeleton that this is built upon. It's the framework, and all the rest of it, woodcraft and sports, which have kind of gone by the wayside, and the different things that all are the newest piece are all supported by the tripping program. Mm-hmm. And we started this conversation talking about tripping and about if you want to know somebody, go on a canoe trip with them. And that whole idea that kids are still having a great time on the trips. Kids are still having a great summer up here. And whether it was our summer or not, I've wrote to Hugh a number of times to say, you know what, I still believe in the program. Mm-hmm. There are things that I wish were different, and change is hard.
Yeah,
but change
that's right.
But change is inevitable.
But sometimes it's needed.
Well, that's the other part of it, isn't it? I mean, what rough spots? I mean, we just got done grinding rough spots off.
Right.
Of a beautiful 1950s era, hunk of steel. But yeah, sometimes you have to rub that stuff off, and it doesn't always feel good. But I think that the backbone, the skeleton of this place is still here, and that's that wilderness tripping program.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's you just brought up an interesting thing that just popped into my head. We just grinded off the paint from the Kooch II from 1951 or whenever it was they got that. That's the original paint.
Well, because we were down to bare metal.
We were down to bare metal, and we put a new paint on it in 2026. But you know what? It's still the Kooch II.
It is.
So
even when it belonged to someone else, it was still the Kooch II.
Still the Kooch II. So I guess my point is, there's been some changes to a few things to protect our future, but it's still Camp Kooch, and the tripping program still rings loud and clear. And what's most important is these kids are still having a great time, and
without question.
Without question.
And you gotta look at this, and whether you like a decision or you don't like a decision. Our leadership has designed, and Hugh in particular, has designed a system to make decisions that protect the longevity and the viability of this camp.
Correct.
So, you may buy a new car and not like every option you have on it, but you still have the car.
Right.
And there's some things that have to be addressed just because of the nature of the world we live in currently. Not comfortable, not great.
No.
But there are ways to navigate that, and I think we've done that. And we don't want to put 100 years. We don't want to put our tradition at risk just because we're too stubborn
Correct.
to change.
Yeah.
What do they say? A pessimist curses the wind, and a sailor adjusts his sails.
Yeah.
We're not changing our destination.
That's correct.
We'll change our course, and we'll tack a little bit.
Well, you and I were able to be over here this week, and we were able to meet some young guys. Johnny Meeks and Ben Lupkeman. And
You mean Jack, alias Jackie? You mean John, alias Johnny?
But I'll tell you, and there was a few other guys. I know there was Kyle Siebert was over there, and Trevor was over there, and these guys, I still see the same fun and enjoyment that we had when we were. I pictured you and I together when we were younger, watching Ben and Johnny, those two best friends, interact. I couldn't help but just think back to our time together. So, I mean, it's still a special place. It's still a magical place.
Well, and it still makes those connections.
And it makes those connections. And that's what's important. And I've talked to a lot of people, and, there's been a lot of change over the years. And I'm just so grateful that people like BJ and Holden and, Tim and all those people that saw the changes stayed with us and kept this thing going, so that we could enjoy our time at camp. And I'm so indebted and grateful for those guys. And I guess we're at the time now, Pete. It's our turn to keep this thing going. I mean,
well, for sure, because it was a couple summers back, but it's like all my mentors got clear cut. It was in about a 2-year period that Tim passed, Richard passed, Tom Dupree, your dad, my dad. A lot of people that I would
Upson.
I would say, what would we do? Then Upson, yeah, for sure. But I would say, what would we do about this? And the places that I would go for reference, well, they're still available, because you could think about how would they have handled this, and there's something to be said for that, being able to emulate their nature and the hard decisions they had to make. But I think you just said it's our turn. You don't get to be a middleman anymore. You got to be a bowman, or you don't get to be a bowman. You're gonna be the sternman and carry the canoe. Maybe it is our turn to keep some of those traditions alive.
Yeah.
And be available. When I was on the board, this came to mind, and you and I mean, we can shoot out Top Gun movie lines to each other back and forth. And pretty much put Lisa and Shelley to sleep with like, what do you? Why don't you guys? Did you guys ever watch the movie, or just like recite it to each other? But here's the thing, I went from being a jet pilot, right? Not in real life. That's off ride. Yeah. But I went from being a jet pilot, driving that canoe, to being a squad leader, right? A father or a trip head or whatever. And from a squad leader to be a rear echelon commander. So I'm 50, 55 years old. I'm on the board, and I want nothing more than to swing an axe and pick up a canoe and be part of it. I want to be in the mosh pit. I want to be on the trips, not planning the safety, execution, and extraction part of the trips. Mm-hmm. I wanted to be in it up to my elbows. And it's like, oh, I had my time in the jet, in the canoe.
Right.
I had my time planning out and sending the guys where they're going to go. And now it's my time to sit back here in the rear and watch someone else have their time. Yeah. That was hard. That's a hard thing to let go of, because, hey, man, I'm a 26-year-old locked in a 61-year-old body. Yeah. If you ask my brain, I'm writing checks my body can't cash.
Right.
But, you miss that.
Right. Absolutely. The Native American program is going to, it's not, we could still talk about it. It's not to be erased from our time. I mean, and I've told people that we will continue to talk about it, and our time, because it was part of our experience here.
Yeah.
Even though it may not be with us in our program anymore, I still talk about it because it was a big part of my life, and I don't mind talking about it, and the great thing that it did, and it's good for young kids to hear about it. But I like hearing what they have now. I like talking to Johnny and Ben over there about things. I mean, I had a great time with them this week. Talking about.
I think it's important to remember about that, about the Native program. everything we did was to remember and to honor a tradition that we never saw, we admired, but it was always in admiration and respect for that tradition. And I tell you what, I tell people the story about Mason and the roach and the origins of friendship dance.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I tell that all the time.
Yeah, that was with John Netlake down at Red Lake. Sure.
Yeah, yeah. And so that whole idea where some of our regalia came from, Mason offering to buy the roach and John Netlake being offended by that. And then the next time together in council or to dance in their powwow, he presents them with a roach. And it's not for sale. It's in my family for generations.
Yeah.
But it's a gift to my friend. That piece of our native program has colored my whole life.
Oh, absolutely.
Of gifts to friends, of gifts to my brother, of things that I've experienced. Yeah, more so than my scouting career of do a good turn daily. That whole idea of a gift that you would give or support that you would give, never expecting any sort of repayment or any sort of equal exchange. That was being that lesson from of how to be out of exchange.
Yeah.
In a positive way.
Yeah.
It's a way I've tried to live my life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And yeah, that story has always resonated and captured the beauty of the friendship dance. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions here as we wrap this up here.
All right.
All right, you ready?
Born ready.
Your favorite cabin at Kooch?
9, without question. Cabin 9.
Cabin 9.
Yeah, Cabin 9.
You just favorite activity at camp?
Oh, I loved the time with Bebo and sailing. I had learned to sail prior to that, but they were big boats, and learning that those little boats moved like the big boats did. But A, sailing, or B, the tripping.
Yeah.
That's
Okay, let's talk about the trip. Your favorite trip? Do you have a
Turtle.
really?
Turtle River, yeah.
You love that trip?
I did. I've done it a number of times. I'll tell you a story about Tom Dupree really fast. We were up here for ice fishing, and in Holden's cabin, they had the maps, and it was Quetico, Ignis, the 4 glued together.
Yeah, right.
And it was the old school tripping planner, and they had rapids and things marked on there. And I remember pointing at Sanford and going, Tom, I love this place. Tom was probably my age now, or maybe even younger. And I was a punk. I was like 25, 26 years old. Like, I love that place. I want to go back there someday. And he goes, well, cherish your memories because you'll probably never get back there again. Now, to prove Dupe wrong, I've been back there a number of times. But now, I don't know if I'll get back to Sanford Lake. I don't know. And he was so wise when he said, cherish those memories because you'll probably never see it again.
That's true.
There's something to that. So it would be the Turtle River. It probably would be, if not a trip with taking my own son down the Turtle, or a segment of it with my dad and my son. It was that trip with you and Praz.
Oh,
that's one of my favorite trips ever.
I mean, that just opened the whole thing about, as a young kid, I wasn't the biggest fan of tripping at all. It was just a tough thing for me, but that opened the gate for me, that 1985 trip with you guys. And then the next year I went down to English with Upson, and that just took it to a whole nother level. I mean, we had such a great time. And anyway, you're the trip head. Who do you want as your junior staff guy?
Real time or of any?
Anytime. It can be anytime. You can pick anybody you want.
Oh, I'm taking you.
Well, you don't have to take me. I mean,
I know I don't have to, but I would. Otherwise, that I'd take Matt DeWine.
Okay.
I got a Matt DeWine story for you, where he's a CIT, he's an aide. It's Pat Ecker with his light kind of tan chambray shirt and his khaki pants, and his New York Yankees hat, going trivia quiz, and he'd ask trivia about just inane stuff. The kids are never going to get it, but it's 30s movie questions and sports questions. Still awesome. So Dwayne stands up, and he's got this excellent bib-style sailing rain pants. And it was really wet. It was first session. And so he gets his bibs down so he could, take a paddle piss over the side, and it goes the way it's supposed to.
Right.
It's one big outdoor toilet. It's returning to where it came.
Yeah.
Anyways, he goes to get buckled back up again, and you hear this, bing, kaboom, boom, tick, tick, ploosh. Oh, perfect. As his pocket knife goes over the side, never to be seen again. But to this day, when I reconnected with Dwayne, I tell him that story. He goes, I don't remember that. It's like, I do. Blink, boom, boom, blink, ploosh. Oh, perfect.
Oh, gosh. All right, I got one last question. I've asked a bunch of people this. You're sitting in the top of loggers, and you got to go down.
Yeah.
You got to pick a camper. What camper you want in your bow?
I put John Pole in my bow.
John Pole's a great one.
Bow, with a smile on his face and a loincloth around his middle, just like me. Just like when we wrapped on the Turtle.
John Pole, Van.
Golden tan, nothing on but a smile, and down we go.
Oh, what a great kid. We miss him, man. Gone way too soon.
Yeah.
But, well, listen, man. I mean, we could sit here and talk forever, but I'm glad we're sitting up here on Rainy Lake. It was great to connect. I'm glad you made time to come up, man. And we're going to stay in touch. And hopefully we can get back up and do this again in May next year, and if not a couple of times. But and we'll try to get you back down to Uppy's property too. But
that's fantastic.
Pete, you're one of my best friends I've ever had in my life, and that'll always be that way. And I appreciate everything in your friendship and your loyalty, and I'm just so grateful I was able to meet you at Camp Kooch, and I'm grateful for Camp Kooch for introducing us. So I appreciate you joining us on the podcast.
Yeah, for sure. There's a couple of taglines I've taken away from this place, and I just can never let go of. That one is, this place is full of memories. This place is full of dreams. Who knew just a sticky statement that would be, something that would be archetypal and apply to everybody.
Yep.
And the other one is in Mason's Law of the Woods, which echoes some other scouting things very closely. Mason and Sir Baden Powell were pals. They were contemporaries. So I think the scouting program I came from made this all mesh together so well. But that whole idea of seek the joy of being alive.
Yeah.
So this is a joyful thing to do with you. It was a joyful time scraping that boat, and just being here. It is. You don't have to seek it. It's right here.
And it's still special.
I was going to say, I think heaven looks a little bit like this.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, buddy, and look forward to catching up again soon.